Hello everybody! Today I will be doing my June wrap-up. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that it is the end of June already. What? So let's get started. This month I read a total of 7 books. So first I read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I gave this book 4 stars on Goodreads. It wasn't as much of a crazy thriller as everyone made it out to be, in my opinion. Though it was seriously a messed up. Amy and Nick Dunn are super messed up in the mental area. It took me a while to get into it, but once I did, I wanted to know what the heck was gonna happen for sure. And it's weird. Amy and Nick kind of complete each other in the most messed up, volatile way, but I kind of loved it. So in the beginning of the story, Nick discovers that Amy has gone missing and it looks like there was a struggle and that she was murdered. And throughout the story, I never once really sympathized with Nick because the way he was taking it and just the general way he was acting. No sympathy for Nick. However, I did sympathize with Amy. Perhaps it's just because I found her point of view more gripping and entertaining to read versus Nick, where I was just like, oh, blah, 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 woe is me, Nick. I've yet to watch the movie, but once I do, I will be doing a full video about the book to movie adaptation. So look forward to that. So next I read The Hedge, which is a graphic novel by George R.R. Martin. I got it from the library, so I don't have a physical copy anymore. I gave this about a 3.5 on Goodreads. It was good, but it wasn't anything too impressive. It was just about this hedge knight who goes to attorney, but there's nothing really more to it than that. But it definitely seemed like a setup graphic novel. I know there's at least one sequel. I don't know if it's going to continue past that, but I will definitely be reading the next one. The Sworn Sword. So I need to check that out. Next, I finally finished Wanderlove by Kirsten, Hubbard. This was another about a 3.5-ish stars. When I first started this book, I was not impressed at all. I thought the writing just really drove me nuts and I didn't sympathize with the character and I didn't really care too much. I honestly didn't think I was going to finish it at all, but after I picked it up again, after my couple months off, I enjoyed it a bit more and was more interested in the story, though obviously it was not a 5-star book or anything. Overall, it was relatively enjoyable, nothing too extravagant, but I didn't hate it or anything. But it did leave me wanting more, especially the ending. Next, I read Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future by A.S. King. This is about a girl named Gloria who basically randomly obtains the ability to, when she looks at people, to see their future and the future in general, which was my favorite part of the book. The rest of her story I wasn't super into. I believe I gave this book 4 stars. The next book I read was The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This was my first Neil Gaiman book and I certainly enjoyed it. It was super unique, set in a graveyard about a boy growing up. I say a little bit more about this in my Rainbow Renaissance wrap-up if you'd like to hear more thoughts on this one. I will definitely be picking up more Neil Gaiman in the future. I gave this book 4 stars as well. The next book I read was another A.S. King, and that is Please Ignore Vera Dietz. This was a little more disappointing than Gloria O'Brien. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It might be because I read it so close to another one of her books. The premise I thought was interesting is about a girl named Vera who loses her best friend and who knows the real events behind it. It wasn't as clear and prominent as Gloria O'Brien's magical realism, and I didn't enjoy it quite as much. And the last book that I have finished in June was The Merchant of Death, the first book in the Pendragon series by D.J. McHale. This has been on my TBR forever. It's about a boy named Bobby Pendragon who discovers he's a traveler, which means he essentially has to save the universe from Saint Dane. I really enjoyed the plot of this book, however, Bobby drove me nuts. I understand he's a 14-year-old boy, but he's a very whiny 14-year-old boy, and I hope in the other books that he grows up and out of his annoying whiny stage. The last book that I have to show you is a book that I am halfway through with, and that is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Finished part 1, or called book 1 of this. I am really enjoying it. There's a lot of things that I never experienced before because this is my first time reading it and I've seen the movie at least a dozen times the books that I plan on reading in July. So first, obviously, I plan on finishing The Fellowship of the Ring. I have a little less than half to go, so I should be finishing this in the beginning of the month. Now, since currently it is Read-O-Rama this week, this TBR that I have is gonna look a little ridiculous, but most of it I should actually be reading the rest of this week. First, we have City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is book 2 in the Mortal Instruments series. I read book 1 back in April and have been meaning to get to this one. Hopefully, I will be reading this rather quickly. Next, we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is not going to take very long at all. I actually plan on reading this today, so technically I will have read it in June. And next, I have The Second Summer of the Sisterhood by Anne Brasher. This is the second book in the Sisterhood the Traveling Pants series, and these always read super quickly. So again, this will definitely be getting done this week. Then we have a book that has been on my TBR for a year now, and that is Dark Eden by Chris Beckett. I seriously need to read this because it's kind of ridiculous that I haven't read it yet. This is a sci-fi book set on a planet called Eden, and then some stuff happens. And hopefully also I will be finishing this week. First, we have A Dance of Dragons by George R.R. Martin. This is book 5 in the Song of Ice and Fire series, and I need to read it. Like, I don't want to be caught up, but I want to be caught up. I want to know what happens, and I don't want to get spoiled. Next, I have The Lost City of Far, the second book in the Pendragon series by DJ McCann. Hopefully, Bobby isn't as annoying in this one, and I'll get through it a little quicker. Next, I have another book that's been on my TBR for quite a while, and that is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I feel like I'm one of the last people on BookTube to read it. We have winter coming out in a few months, so I need to at least start the series before that happens. It's a retelling of Cinderella, so I love me some Cinderella. Then we have The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien, part 2 of the Fellowship of the Ring. What's really cool about these editions, this book actually starts on page 403 instead of page 1. This is basically one book split into 3 parts, literally. This is actually the shortest one in the trilogy, so I should be able to read this one as well. How pretty. The last book that I'm going to put on my TBR is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Yeah, again, a book that I feel like I am one of the last people on BookTube to read it. Everyone is falling over themselves for Ready Player One, so these are the books that I plan on reading in July. 10 books on my TBR this month. We're gonna see what happens. Some of them are pretty small, but some of them aren't. This is really heavy. I'm gonna put that down. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you read in June down below and what you plan on reading in July. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!